Hi, it's Tim Hagen from Progress Coaching, and welcome to another episode of Coaching Conversations. And I wanted to make you aware of something very cool that we're doing on a subscription basis, and we'll put a link in each one of our episodes. But every Wednesday, we're going to be doing what we call an audio podcast workshop. That workshop will be roughly about 14 to maybe 20 minutes per episode, with each month having a theme from a coaching model, using feedback strategically, to coaching self-awareness, and so on. So if you could look in the body or in the content description of each episode, and you will see a link where you can join this subscription. These are literally 4 workshops every month teaching specific strategies to address a particular area of workplace coaching as it relates, again, to things like awareness, motivation, teamwork, and what have you. Here's the cool thing. It's only $10 per month, and each month you will get a handout that we will follow along with. So we also give you a tool for you to take notes as we go through each episode. We hope you'll check it out.
Perspectives are powerful. When we learn of other people and what they're going through, it really helps us recalibrate our own frustrations or anxieties associated with the workplace. And recently, I've had a number of conversations where perspectives were gained. I was talking to an ex-client, somebody who moved on to another company, and this was a person who is very, very good, very frustrated with their prior place of employment. And I said, how are the things that you're doing now, exciting you and enticing you? And the person looked at me very glum and said, you know what? I didn't know I had it that good. He said, I didn't think I was making the grass is greener type of decision. He said, but I think I did. I didn't address my own concerns at my former employer, and I simply left. And I have been misled. I was hired to do a job I'm not even doing. And he said, I'm extremely frustrated. Now, I'd say about 2 hours after that conversation, I ran into a friend. And this friend, we were at a gas station. He was telling me about his 3 kids. And we were talking about, how are your kids? And we started to depict what each one of our children were doing. And we each have 5 between the 2 of us. He has 3 and I have 2. And he said, yeah, it's really interesting how things have changed. He said, how so? And he said, do you remember my son? I said, oh, yeah, I used to tease him when he was a little kid at basketball. He said, oh, yeah, we had so much fun. I said, those were great times, and we're having this great conversation. I said, so where did he go to school? He said, oh, he didn't go to school. I said, oh, what does he do? And he said, oh, he went into the HVAC business, got an internship. He's making like $60,000 a year. And I said, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. And I said, the trades are coming back. And I said, that's great. I said, don't you think the high schools kind of steer you towards college because it's the norm? He said, oh, we have that conversation all the time. So, oh, what are your other kids doing? He said, well, I have one kid who went into real estate, selling homes, loves it, living at home, no debt. My kid who is in the HVAC business is still at home, about to move out. And he's got $60,000 in his 401k, Tim. I'm like, wow, that's fantastic. And no debt. He said, my daughter went to college, got a degree. She teaches. She's got a $35,000 a year job and $100,000 worth of debt. Now, this podcast is not about don't send your kids to college. It's about perspective. And I sat there and I said, it's so interesting because my daughter goes to Ithaca College in New York. She's a journalism major. And it's a private school, and dare I say, extremely expensive. But it was the best decision she ever made of her life. She will be connected to that school and those people and her friends for the rest of her life. I met her at that school. My wife went on the tours, and I was telling my friend, I said, it was made for my kid. Now, perspectives. So everything that we do and we learn creates perspectives. If I knew what I knew now and I had that conversation with my friend maybe 6 years ago, I might have counseled my kids different. I might have shared with them different perspectives. See, we tend to get into these norms when we get back to normal. And now we're working in this new hybrid virtual world, which for a lot of people has become normal. Think about the perspectives of people saying 2-3 years ago, oh, I hate working at home. 2 years later, I love working at home. I don't have to drive in. I'm saving on gas with prices going up. It's really great. Perspectives change. So we as leaders have to do one thing, And I want to give you a 30-day challenge. I want you to just talk to one person a day, 20 days out of 30 days during the business week, and just try to gain a perspective. Now, in the last couple articles I've written in our newsletter as well as our podcast, I had shared a story about a salesperson who was very rude to me, very abrupt, very interruptive, used profanity. At one point, I asked a question. He goes, "I just told you stupid." He called me stupid. And at about 16 minutes, I realized I obviously was not the problem because I just met the guy. So something was weighing on him. I said, "Look, you keep saying this whole thing. I honestly don't know what you mean." And that's when he said the pandemic's stupid. I said, "Great, but you reference it in a very specific way, how it's affected your family." And he said, "Yeah, it has." I said, "Just without swearing at me, without yelling at me, what's going on?" And I lowered my voice and he said, "My wife lost her job. My kids are struggling because they're not socializing. We live in a rural area. That's why my wife can't find a job. She got furloughed." And I said, "Okay." I said, "I have a question I'm going to ask you. Why is she not working?" He said, "I just told you, we don't have a lot of industry in our area." And then it hit me. At that moment, I knew. He didn't know about the virtual world for assistance. And I said, "Have you ever heard of a site called Upwork?" He said, "No." I said, "I'm going to put it in the chat. Give this to your wife and have your wife contact me. We're going to create a profile. She will get busy in the next 60 to 90 days. She ended up getting 2 gigs within 30 days. The guy's been fantastic. Now I'm his best buddy. Yet at that 16 minutes, had I gotten angry and gotten emotional and charged up like him, I would have cut myself off from a perspective and an opportunity to do what? Help somebody. And it's a client. So you know what happens. We on the vendor side, the consulting side, you help one person and you go above and beyond the call of duty, it spreads. It's not why I did it. Yet that was a fringe benefit. Now, if I had yelled at him, can you imagine what that would have turned into had he been sharing that with coworkers within the organization? So when we're working with people and we're talking to people, we have to gain perspective. And recently I ran into a couple who has a child with Down syndrome. And I said, "How has this this pandemic hit you guys?" And they were kind of ho-hum about it. And it was really kind of an awkward response. And I said, "Oh, you guys seem to have taken this pretty well." And they said, "I'm not discounting what people have gone through. I mean, COVID's been terrible. People have died. We're not trying to trivialize it. We've had to be very conscientious of our own challenge." And I sat there like a dummy. And I said, "Oh, like what?" They said, "Our son." And they only have one child. And he has Downs. And all they talk about is making sure he's well taken care of. He's employable. Family members, non-family members will look out for them after they are long gone from this earth. And I just sat there with a lump in my throat thinking, "You dummy, you should have known that answer." And they were wonderfully gracious and they know me and we have a great fun joking relationship. Yet at that moment I thought, wow, yeah, we're going through a pandemic, but our pandemic is ending. Theirs never ends. I don't know. I could not fathom what that stress would be like. So I always think that we have a wall. In sales, they always talk about, the first objection is a mask to the real objection. That's 72%. I think the number 72% of all objections is not the real objection. I think the same thing happens with people, just in life. We have a door, and that door is the 72%. We're going to give you an answer, rhetorical. Things are pretty good, But once we get behind the door, somebody's always got something behind their door that they're going through. And if we can find out what that is without prying, without overstepping the line, being considerate, thoughtful, and professional, we have an opportunity to do what? To help people, yet also help ourselves. See, when we gain perspective, we put our own perspective into its proper place. Good luck. Thank you for listening to another episode of Coaching Conversations by Tim Hagen and Progress Coaching. Now, our company is always coming out with new and innovative solutions to help leaders coach their employees. And recently, we just created a new service called Coach to You, where leaders can pick and choose topics and assign 7 to 21-day programs for employees to learn and, more importantly, apply actions and then reflect and share what they're going to do going forward as a result of the learning. It's called Coach to You. We're literally bringing coaching to your employees. If you're intrigued, we'll have a link in each one of our episodes where you can get more information. And again, thank you so much for listening to another episode.